Hello and welcome to episode 12 of Lost and Chronologically Lost, where this time we cover that two different women make life-altering decisions after getting a negative pregnancy test.
And that's not even the only pregnancy test.
No, there's a positive one as well. So just a whole episode of pregnancy. So where do we begin with this one?
There was something I wanted to talk about before we even get into the events, which is I was looking at the episodes I have before me, and there's not that many left before it looks to me like we get to the actual plane crash on the island. I don't know for sure what the episode titles mean, but I mean, we're already rushing through 2002 and 2003 to get to 2004.
That we are.
Yeah, so if there's only a few episodes left in the backstories, I don't know, I expected more. It feels like for some characters, we just haven't gotten enough yet. And for some of them, we got that stuff these episodes, like Hurley. But then, I think the big one is Jin. You hyped up the Jin backstory to me, and I still haven't quite seen what's so crazy about it, and I want to. So...
Right, I didn't realize how condensed the rest of their plotline is. I didn't realize there was years between meeting the thing with his mother and then what happens next. I thought that happened throughout, but I guess not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that one at least is going to happen because you hyped it up. But for other characters, I don't know, I'm realizing I might not get as much as I thought it would. So I hope that what we get is good. I think it also feels like, I'm not sure, I feel like we could get more Saeed. I mean, the thing is, for some characters, we've gotten so much. I mean, a big thing for me this episode was, holy shit, we get a lot of Jack. Like, Jack is good, but I'm starting to think, I don't need any more Jack backstory. And for some characters, I'm like, I could use this much.
That's too bad, because you're gonna get it.
Still,
he's the main character
I know,
of the show.
But still even more. Or, Sawyer, too, has a lot. Well, actually, no, Sawyer didn't have any more this episode, right?
No. But he was in the actual stuff a lot.
My brain mixed it up and thought, oh yeah, I got more Sawyer because
you did.
Because I had some thoughts on Sawyer and the time travel. Yeah. Well, alright, let's get started. So we open up with Sawyer shirtless, which I bet you enjoyed.
No. It's...
Oh.
I just don't like his character so much that he's become unattractive to me. Just...
Honestly, I get that because he was being a dick here.
Oh, he is the worst. First... Okay, you don't slap Daniel, okay? We stand Daniel on this podcast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Dick move. Daniel was not being unreasonable.
Exactly. And then threatening to slap Charlotte. It's like, really, bitch? Like, really?
Yeah, wow.
Get out of here.
During the time travel arc, there was a period where I was really enjoying Sawyer. He was being competent. And then he started to be a dick again when he was so scared of losing their place at the Dharma Initiative. And, now... And then it's now here, before that, he's also a dick. So I'm like, wow, him being not a dick seems like it was actually only a temporary thing.
Yup, it really was. And yet somehow he's still a fan favorite.
And, he actually was leaderly during some of the Dharma stuff, as we got that contrast between him and Jack, where Jack was discouraged. And right now, he does not seem like he's ready to remotely try to be a leader. But that's enough about Sawyer.
Right. So, right where this picks up is, Sawyer gets asked why he jumped off this helicopter, which, that seems like a really interesting thing, especially considering that it was brought up previously with Kate.
Yeah. So what I think what he was implying was the helicopter was running out of fuel. They wanted to make sure that it could get back to the boat with everyone else. So I think he got off to make sure Kate would safely get carried by the helicopter.
Exactly. But, as we also hear in this episode, the boat had blown up, so...
Yeah. I know that they survived, so I'm not totally sure how seriously to take that or the nature of it blowing up.
Well, you'll find out.
Yeah, in a long time.
Right. And so we get a whole thing where they're trying to... Daniel is like, oh, I can't explain it, it's too complicated. But it's not really that complicated.
Yeah,
it's
time
travel. On. You don't have to get into the nitty-gritty of how it works. It just is.
You guys are living 2 decades after Back to the Future came out. Come on.
Yeah, it's...
Watch a movie. Read a book.
Yeah, and he says, whatever Ben did, it dislodged them from time, so we're gonna have
Yeah,
to
something at the
fix
Orchids.
it.
I still want answers to that.
Well, it was that Ben pushed the wheel
you know-
like Locke did in episode 1.
Yeah, but why? What was he trying to accomplish? Is makes me wonder, because I know Ben can leave the island whenever he wants, or maybe right now he can't. Maybe the others got, maybe they lost their submarine. I don't know. I think they talk a bit just about like groups, and it just makes me wonder, like, this whole ragtag group is like just assembled, and it just kind of messes with. I think this a lot during the early part of this episode, that it just kind of messes with me that during the time travel arc, I really thought of like Sawyer, Miles, Juliet, Jin as like really core characters to the show, and Daniel too, of course. And now it's like, wow, Miles really only joined late in the game. I had kind of figured out that Daniel was a later addition, although I didn't realize how much later, and I talked about how I was confused by that. But I expected to get like Miles early on in the show, and it's both weird to me that I won't get these characters early on, and it's weird to me that they get introduced so late and then yet get integrated in as main members of the cast. I'm not sure how elegant that will feel.
I think Lost is able to do it very well, especially because not everybody stays for the entire run of the show. Not everyone is filming in Hawaii for 6 seasons.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to just bring in more characters at a certain point. And I think they write them in very well. Maybe until season 6, they introduce some even more new characters, and it's like, we didn't need new characters in season 6. It's the final season.
Yeah. Because at a certain point, it's like, because Miles, even if Miles is introduced late, I like Miles. And also, I haven't gotten any Miles backstory.
Well, you got some of it.
So, yeah, barely.
There's also this is also a thing where sort of 2 of the characters who are introduced in season 6, they like don't end up doing anything, and then the writers said, yeah, we had plans for them, but then we ran out of time, and it's like, well, what did you think you were doing? It's season 6. It's the final season. Of course you don't have time for this.
Yeah, it's just like I feel like the characters who end the show, like the characters I see resolve things, I have no idea how it's going to end. I know that it ends with revealing what's really going on with Jacob and all, but I have no idea like what the ending is in terms of like what situation do the characters end up in. What's their lives going to be? And I feel like the characters I see get that ending resolution are characters that I wanted to be the characters I've spent at least a while with, not characters who were just introduced,
It's mostly going to be characters you've spent a long while with. You're going to feel at least some connection with everyone by the end, I'll say.
Yeah, alright. That's good.
But continuing where this episode actually is at, they want to find Locke, and wherever Locke is, he sees Yemi's plane crash.
Yeah, I was wondering if like the people on that survived. I didn't see them survive, but it didn't look like too bad of a crash. But like, wow, what a weird connection to show up.
Yeah, but that's just, again, one degree of separation. Everything in Lost is connected somehow.
Yeah, and anyway then, also I started thinking just like, I'm glad to see Locke again. I'm sad that I know he dies, because he's just badass now. And this is where it occurred to me, I want to see him see his dad again. Now, morally speaking, he doesn't need to see his dad again. He needs to become somebody who isn't affected by him, who doesn't care about the shitter that his dad is. But, that said, it would be even better to me if he punched his dad in the face. So, I don't know. I don't know if I can expect that. Maybe, I think that I don't think I would get any more of that in the backstory, but I think he would maybe see his dad again when he is going to get everybody, when he's like out off the island and going to get everybody to come back to the island, where I don't know what happens, but I guess he dies. If he had a final confrontation with his dad during that, I'd like that.
That would be very interesting to see, to bring him kind of full circle with everything. But anyway, so he's climbing up to this plane, which I'll notice a lot of the shots that they use, they like close up on like his foot hitting a thing or his hand grabbing a vine or whatever, because like Terry O'Quinn is not actually climbing anything, so it's just like
You're not
zoom
gonna
in,
make
zoom
him
in,
climb.
zoom in, so you can't see that he's just standing on a thing. Anyway, he gets shot by Ethan, who
Yeah, which is just... Wow, Ethan is being a dick, too. Like, Ethan, he acted very nice during the Juliet stuff, but now just, like, he's a very shoot first. Okay, he was shoot first, and then he was ask some questions, and then he was ignore the answers to those questions, keep shooting.
Right, yeah. Locke says Ben appointed him as the leader, and Ethan's like, yeah, that's unlikely. But they get saved by another time flash, which goes to a split screen, because it showed two different perspectives. Not a very interesting
This is
split
an
screen.
understandable split screen. They show both groups immediately after the flash. So, yeah, it literally happens at the same time, but it's not very significant.
Right, so, Sawyer's group, they find the hatch, and Sawyer's like, okay, well, I know that there's supplies and everything in there, so I want to get those, because I don't want to have to start from scratch like we did before. And Daniel says...
Which is understandable.
Daniel says, no, you can't, because you never did before, and you can't mess up the timeline. And,
Desmond does not know you.
right. And he makes a thing saying, if you mess up the timeline, like, everyone you care about will... I forget exactly what he says, but he says something bad will happen to everyone you care about. And so he says, everybody I care about blew up on your boat, so...
Yeah, which isn't true, so... Right. Also, I like how Sawyer said he's Ghost of Christmas Future.
Yeah, that's... The nicknames never stop, not even for himself.
Yeah. But anyway, he's being a dick to Daniel, and then Juliet tells him to stop being an asshole with her eyes. With her words... She says, we should get back to the beach. It's been a long day. But her eyes say, stop being an asshole.
Yeah, and like I said, this is really their plan. They're at the beach. Okay, well, we got to go inland to something. Well, we got there. Well, now we have to go back to the beach.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, and that's... Miles, I see why Miles complained about that later.
Right.
Later.
We get a thing where we see the first issue with the time traveling, where Charlotte gets a nosebleed. And... Then Daniel says, oh, I have to go back because I forgot my thing. Which I was like, oh, I knew he had to meet Desmond, and I knew he did that. So I'm like, oh, he's lying so he can be alone with Desmond. But he did forget it, though. He also did forget it.
And he looks through the journal. I think he sees something important, maybe. I'm not sure what he figured out from it. But now he goes to keep knocking, and Desmond comes out. And even now, like... Wow, I see why they needed an explanation for why he calls everyone brother. Because this is a weird time to call someone brother.
He just always does. He just always does that. Just always.
Yeah.
And so here's the important thing where he says to Desmond... Well, first, Desmond asks, are you him? Are you my replacement? And he's like, nope. And he says Desmond is the only one who can help them because the rules don't apply to Desmond. And this is going to be a really important thing because for all of Lost, you can't change the past. Whatever happened, happened. That does not apply to Desmond. Desmond can do whatever he wants.
So Desmond is just unstuck. I mean, yeah, we saw some of that, half of it. So he's clearly there's something going on with him being unstuck in time. Although I don't know why Daniel would already know that. And I guess he remembers meeting Desmond, but Desmond wouldn't remember that. But does Daniel know that? Like later, just like on the island, they meet Desmond and like. Does Daniel already know Desmond on the island? I don't know, like if Daniel just got here or not. Maybe he got here, but the groups were separated at points. I don't know.
Well, it's hard to say, but Anyway, this is an important thing because, as we'll see later in the episode, Desmond says, "Oh, I haven't been outside in 2 years," which we know now is not true because he had to open the door to talk to Daniel.
Oh, so this was time being changed.
The timeline has now changed because of Desmond.
Wow.
But it only applies to Desmond. Only Desmond is the one who can have things different happen to him.
Huh.
Everyone else has to stay on the same path.
I expected Daniel to tell him some stuff about, like, saving them when later on when they crash on the island, helping them, but instead it's about going to Oxford and finding his mother, and I don't fully get why it's necessary, but... And I don't know... When will Desmond be off the island? I don't know, but...
Well, they mentioned that Desmond was on the helicopter as well.
Oh. But then he didn't come back to the island with Hurley and Kate and Jack.
If you want to come back to the island, if you spent years having to push a button every 108 minutes?
I mean, yeah, in the sense that I know not everybody will. Like, I don't know for sure. You kind of hinted at it but didn't confirm it. I'm assuming that Michael is someone who chose to not come back, which I want for him. Because, like, I want him to be with his son. But Desmond seems like someone where... I don't know, I could see him... he just seems like he has more important Time Island stuff to do, whereas Michael kind of just has his son to go back to. Like, I wouldn't expect
you don't
Desmond
think Desmond
to be
has anyone to go back to?
Okay, he has no one to go back to that I give a shit about.
Okay, well, everybody else liked Penny.
I just feel like I just feel like I need to be invested in his relation. Like, Penny's alright, but his relationship with Penny, I just think he's too flaky.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm just trying to say, like...
But think about this. Now, isn't it ironic that he is someone who is so flaky, and now he ends up in a situation where he's literally basically trapped somewhere and has a responsibility that he has to head to every single, like, hour.
I did not get that irony, but that's great.
Yeah. Anyway, next we get some more Echo picking up on his backstory. So he goes to someone, and he's going to sell the vaccines already after he's heard...
Which is, wow. I was expecting maybe something of an arc where he struggles with, like, you know, maybe starts to think about God, but no, he's still being himself.
I remember this backstory as I was like, oh yeah, and then the armed men come, and he kills them, but then they're like, oh, you didn't actually help us, because that's just putting, like, a Band-Aid on the whole problem. I forgot the fact that he was trying to sell them. Like, that's... really bad.
So the guys, they come to threaten him, they tie up his hands, and then he just kills them. He just kills them with his hands tied up because he's a badass.
Everybody loves Echo.
The guy begs for his life, and he's like, "You do not know who I am."
Mr. Echo. Like,
he walks.
Mess with him.
I just feel like Echo. I feel like if I was him, I would have just tried more to keep up this facade of being a priest, but instead he just walks out of the church holding the gun and the bloody machete, and they're all looking, and it's kind of embarrassing to watch.
Yeah, but that's kind of his thing where he doesn't feel bad because he's like, well, yes, was killing 4 people bad, yes, but it was for a good reason, so it's not something to feel bad about.
Yeah.
But one of the local girls says that doesn't help because there's now just a power vacuum and some other people will fill it. And
it's like you made our church not sacred. And I just wonder, like, with all of this, how is he gonna get away with going to London?
The reason he's getting away with going to London is that these were 2 different flashbacks. So that's how that.
Is him in London a flashback that... I mean, I'm assuming the next flashback for him, if we get one, will be him in London. But if so, would it have been from, like, an earlier episode than this?
Well, you know the whole thing where he gets mistaken for the priest in that whole business, right? Yeah, so that connected to where he goes to London. And then later they're like, okay, well, we can fit in something that happened in the 4 days in between that.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah, very tight time frame. That's why this one was. That's why so many of his flashbacks were so close together here because they had to happen in that tight time frame.
Yeah.
And I think this is kind of gonna happen more as.
And speaking of flashbacks that have to happen in between other stuff, we're gonna get some of that.
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
You know what I'm referring to.
I don't.
Next episode.
Okay.
Next episode.
But anyway, now we get Kate, and she's preparing for taco night with her husband.
She is soccer mom. Her hairstyle is so housewife to the point that it feels like she is trying to lean into that role.
And it's like, you know what? Why not? If you spent your whole life being in an abusive household and then being on the run from federal agents,
yeah,
why not? Like, just go full housewife. Like,
fake life going and it's like she's so sweet with her husband that it's cringe, and I want to punch them both.
I thought
for
it was
being so
actually
in love.
sweet. Maybe just because they're both attractive, so it works.
I'm just like, oh my god, stop. Now it's like, yeah, okay, she's.
I mean,
I'm expecting
they're
her
newlyweds.
to,
Of
like,
course they're gonna be like that.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, well, maybe I just don't want to see newlyweds.
Well, that's fair enough. And so she.
But it's just so my guess would have been like she's gonna get caught and he's gonna find out, but instead it's not quite that.
Yeah. So this was her back season 3 plot up. It's like, oh, Kate got married once. That's a thing that happened.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it definitely feels like a weird thing to insert, but I don't think that her like having to make the choice to run away again. I think that's an interesting thing to add to her. I think that
right,
works.
because so she calls this Marshall, and she does an interesting thing where she sets like an egg timer so that the call will be traced, which is not how tracing a call works at all. They would immediately find her and be like, "Oh, it is this public payphone."
Yeah, but public payphone, but we know what city.
Yeah, exactly. It's public payphones have a number.
See, okay. So, wait, is the egg timer was to keep her from being traced? I thought it was just as like a mental thing, like I don't want to talk to him for too long, and I want to let myself get baited.
It was so that she wouldn't be on the
talk.
call long enough for her to get traced, even though that's not how tracing a phone call works.
Yeah.
That's just, but that's how it works in movies, so it works here.
Yeah. But so she's like, I don't want to run anymore.
And he's immediately like, okay, what's his name? Like,
yeah. And he's like, sure, if you settle down, we're good. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, and we see that her husband bought her some plane tickets for a honeymoon.
And I am just sure that she does not have a passport.
Well, and even if she did, it would not say Monica on it.
Yeah.
And also, I just have to say, they've mentioned that the plane that crashed on the island that started this whole series was an oceanic plane, and of course, those are the tickets that he got.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's one of those things where it's not meaningful, but it's teasing the viewers.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, haha, remember Oceanic?
Yeah. Oh, and so, I thought earlier, I forgot about this later, but I was thinking around here, maybe she gets caught, and then that's kind of why she's in because they mentioned she's in handcuffs on the plane, like I think she was caught around then. So, I also kind of just expected her to plan on forging a passport. Like, I feel like with everything she's done, that's not that far of a step to take. But instead, we get her looking at the negative pregnancy test.
Right, so just the thought that she could have been pregnant leads her to have a complete mental breakdown.
Yeah. And around here, I suddenly only just realized the irony of her being with a cop.
Just now you realize that irony? Oh my god.
Yeah. Okay, to be fair, when we first saw them getting married and stuff, I wasn't that into it, so I wasn't thinking about it as much.
There's so many things about the show that I'm like, oh, you're actually picking up on this thing that lots of people will complain about that they never showed, even though it was in the show. And then you miss something like this, or you miss that Charlie's a heroin addict, which is like, that's not subtext, that's text, it's right there.
Because that audio was lost, did the listeners know that I missed that about Charlie? I don't know if I included that.
You told on yourself, and so
I did say it in the recap.
Yes.
Oh man, I shouldn't have.
Well, too late. I already edited it, so.
Oh no. But anyway, she's confessing to Tom, and she's like, "My name's not Monica."
And she says, "Taco night? I don't do taco night." Which is just
which the scene.
It's such a hilarious line.
And she drugged him, and she drugged him so he can have deniability, which is like good for him. And honestly, this is not a close resemblance, but it's a very slight thing where at some point I didn't mention it because it's so minor, but I realized, like, wow, she looks a little bit like Courtney Cox in the early seasons of Friends. There's a little bit of the same energy to her face, and just some of her facial structure. It's not similar, but there's something about it that makes me think of that. So her being named Monica is then just kind of funny to me, or her fake name.
Yeah, that's true. And now we're going to get a Jack storyline that is just crushing, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, this entire plot line, I was thinking, like, this woman, they wrote in an attractive Italian woman who's putting her faith in Jack. I don't trust this. She's gonna try and have sex with him. It kept making me think that, and then it kept not quite doing it, so I kept being like, maybe I'm just seeing things. And then they do kiss at the end, and I'm like, oh man, I knew it. And I was like, oh man, it's so dumb of him to cheat on his wife. I'm gonna be so annoyed if this is how things start to go wrong for his wife.
No, things went wrong long before that.
Yeah, so interesting experience with this one.
Right. This whole thing, it begins with they're looking at this dude's x-rays, and it's this old Italian man. And they actually say, oh, no, we didn't actually come here for Christian. We came here for Jack, because he's the miracle worker.
Mr. Miracle. And Jack, and I think that Jack's dad is right. This isn't worth it. And Jack agrees to try it anyway.
Right, and here's the thing.
And I'm just
she says that she read, tons of medical journals to find out who could do the surgery. And she will mention later that the patient is now Jack's wife. Which means that he published in a medical journal about his own wife. Which, it's just funny, especially when Juliet earlier was like, well, I don't want to publish because it's about my sister. But Jack is like, not my wife published, done. There you go.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, I feel like as a thing to publish, it would mostly be like this thing happened that we can't even explain.
Right, yeah. So they talk about how it's a miracle, and Jack decides that he's going to try to operate on this old dude.
Yeah. And then he's doing tests for a month, and she's like, I want you to operate already. And, he finally gets back to his wife, Sarah, right?
Yes, Sarah.
So around here, I was thinking, wow, she is surprisingly supportive, because she is not like, wow, why were you out so late? She was just like asking him how the patient was.
I think it's because at this point,
with later context, I think she's more just detached.
Yeah, and the point is that this is a pattern that he always will fall into.
Yeah. So I like that this pattern had setup. I almost would have preferred if we saw more of this pattern and didn't have the whole cheating thing. I feel like I would have enjoyed more setup to this pattern. But I guess it does work that they had the cheating as the red herring.
That is true. And she does a whole thing where she tells him that she took a pregnancy test and it turned out negative, which I think to her was the sign that she has to leave him now, because she's like, I almost got pregnant from this guy and got trapped in this marriage, so I have to get out now. Then we get Kate in a bank robbery.
Then we get something
storyline.
Wild. Oh man, this I went from being like about this to just being like, oh, this is interesting, to being a little annoyed with it, to being holy shit.
Right. I forget.
So
I think this was one of her earlier flashbacks. It might have been either first or second.
Huh.
Yeah.
So it starts with her just having a fake identity, Mrs. Ryan, getting a loan because he's a photographer, and then bank robbers storm in, and I'm like, holy shit. And when we first hear people shouting coming in, I'm like, oh, have the marshals tracked her down and here to arrest her? But no, it's just bank robbers.
Right, and they put on this whole charade of blah 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 and everything.
The trucker
and then
guy,
they take Kate to the back.
And I love how this guy is just looking at one of the guys and goes like, I could take him.
Yeah, and anyway,
and
they
Kate
do
gets
this
the
whole
gun,
thing
and he's like, I don't know how to use a gun. I turn off the safety. I don't know how to use it. And I'm just like, Kate, come on. You've been a criminal for years. You don't know how to do this.
But of course,
and then the guy drags her in there, and then if it's like, oh, this is her new man. And it's like, wow, you are like, you're not just on the run, you are doing more crimes.
Right. Well, the reason
Seems
she's
kind
doing
of-
this crime isn't for the money. It's
Oh yeah, because this plot line was playing with me.
absolutely. It's half of the things Lost does. What it does is just to bait the audience.
Yeah, and so then they get in to the money cage, as the guy was calling it, and her idiot boyfriend is like, "Oh, this was her plan, you idiot," and I'm just like, "Don't do this, because the guy has seen her face, and like they can track that, like." Don't give her away. Just keep it a secret. And now you take off your mask. You're letting him see your face. And I'm like, oh, it's because you plan on shooting him.
Right.
Unnecessary, but okay.
Yeah, and Kate's like, no,
But
we're not
then-
going to kill people for this. Come on.
Yeah. Which then I'm just like, Kate, you're kind of an idiot. Because, like, what did you expect? You got involved with him. You got involved in this situation in the first place. You really know how to pick him. Tom was better than this.
This
come on,
feels like a
Kate.
guy that
But then-
this feels like a guy she just seduced in order
Yeah.
to do this robbery.
Yes, because then it's like, oh wait, this was all to get into a specific safety deposit
Right.
box.
Did you notice the number of the deposit box?
No, I did not. I'm sure it was one of
Yeah,
them.
it was 815. So,
Oh boy. Anyway, she has the customer key, but she isn't the account holder, so she needed to do all this to get in. And I think there's a letter in there, and I love that this is the whole all a plan just for that. I love that.
well, no, what was in there was that little toy plane from her childhood friend Tom.
Oh, that's what it was.
That's what it was.
That's all.
It's important to her.
I didn't see it. Okay, that's a little disappointing to me. I didn't catch what it was, and I thought it would be like, oh, maybe next episode it would be revealed. But, I mean, it's character building, but that's like, for me, for what I want, that's not the most interesting answer.
Right. Anyway, so back to Jack. He's, still not giving up on this old dude, and he's flirting
Yeah.
with the daughter, and his dad comes in and says, and
He's
the
like,
conversation
"Am I
is basically
interrupting?"
like, you shouldn't cheat on your wife, and Jack goes, but you cheated on your wife, and he goes, well, that was okay. So,
Yeah, very classic Jack's dad moment. Classic Jack's dad moment.
yeah. And now we get more Desmond, where they're finally picking up on this
Yeah.
storyline.
He became Button Man.
Right. So they do a whole thing where they trigger this security system so that they can paint with invisible paint on this thing, which is
Yeah, I didn't get it, but you know what? Being trapped in a place does weird things to your
I
mind.
didn't get it either. And here's the reason: is that they came up with the idea for there to be an invisible paint wall. And then they had to come up with a reason for there to be one, and it was just, the reason is, oh, Radzinski thought of it, and he's crazy, so we don't have to come up with a real reason.
Okay.
Right, and now we also see why Radzinski could not die in the 1970s flashbacks, because he shot himself while in the hatch.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Radzinski was a piece of shit anyway.
Yep. Yes, he was, and there's a lot of fan theories that, like, it was actually Mr. Krabs who killed him and not suicide, which
Yeah.
I believe
You
it.
know
I
what?
wouldn't
You
want
know
to
what?
live with him either.
You know what? If you piss someone off enough, which Radzinski is definitely the kind of guy to do, and you're trapped together, like, oh man. But anyway, yeah, Desmond, he has the whole hasn't been outside for 2 years, and I didn't pick up on the contradiction. And he's like, I was in the army, and Mr. Krabs is like, you got kicked out for not following orders.
Yeah, they're like, well, you ditched your army. Oh, well, you ditched your army. Okay, and here's
It's
how
like,
we get
well, men-
how Mr. Krabs is here, which is that apparently after the Saeed stuff and the whole thing in Kuwait and whatnot, it disillusioned him from the military, so he quit.
Yeah.
And it's
He
like
was
he
like-
joined
he was like,
Dharma
"Men
in
followed
the
my
very
orders."
he joined Dharma in the very short period between the whole Gulf War ending and Dharma being gassed. In that 2-month period, he showed up, got sent to this hatch,
Yeah.
and that was it.
Okay, so I guess whoever's like running this, like sending people to do this, and like in charge of him, is I guess whoever was funding Dharma, even if Dharma died,
Well, it's the Hansel
they
Foundation.
still are like, yeah. That's my guess, I guess, because I'm just wondering. Huh. So the current state on the island is like the others who have the Dharma facility and are basically acting like fake Dharma, even though like
Right, but they didn't kill the people who were in the hatch.
I think I mentioned this later in my notes, but I'll just talk about it now. It just so gets me that like it gets me that just like they started off as like, you know, jungle people, and then suddenly they're like using the Dharma facilities and acting like such a proper organization, and it's just funny to me that they went through that change. And I think I expected them to keep being like the mysterious jungle people during the main plot.
Yeah, it's almost
and
like in between seasons, the writers came up with completely different ideas for what the others should be.
But anyway, yeah, so I guess after that we get back to some more Jack, and the guy died. His heart gave out.
Which, after 7.5 hours of spinal surgery on, like, a, 70-year-old man?
It's almost like his dad was right all along that this surgery wasn't worth it.
Right, and he wants to go talk to this woman, and his dad is like, I already told her, you can just go home, it's fine. But, nope, he still...
Yeah. She's there anyway, and you know what, all that really happens is they kiss.
Right, and he goes home, and he feels so guilty about this,
and,
which I think is what Christian was saying
I was thinking
about, no, it's okay for some people, not for others. I don't really think it meant morally. I think he meant, he's like, yes, I cheated on, your mom, but I can live with that. You're not going to be able to live with it.
Yeah. So around here I was just thinking, like, this feels stupid. Stop being an idiot, Jack, because I don't care if you're horny and lonely. This is clearly an idiot thing to do. Don't cheat. Like, break up with someone. If you're horny and lonely, break up with who you're with, and then it's not cheating. Well, but anyway, it just feels like, what's even the point of this plot line? Because this, like, I didn't care that much about him saving the guy. I just felt like this feels like kind of a pointless plot line. And it's like, if the only point of it is, he cheats on her, so then she leaves him because of the cheating, then I just find that kind of lame, because I just think the cheating is such a stupid thing to do, and I feel like Jack should be better than that. But, you know what? It got me because she's like, I'm leaving you anyway. And that makes the whole plot line make sense, because the whole thing was setting up how he spent way too much time at work.
Right, yeah. It wasn't that he kissed one girl, it was that he has a constant repetitive thing where, as she says, you will always need something to fix, something that you're going to obsess over and to try and fix. And the thing is, when it was her, it was fine because he devoted all his attention to her and everything, and they got married, and then it was like, well, she's fixed, so now I have to find something else. Like, it's sad, but it's so fitting with Jack's character.
In a certain way, it's kind of satisfying, because the whole time, the way she thought of him as the man who saved her, it always felt like it wasn't the real him, and at the very least, now she understands him better.
That's very true. I really hope this plays into Jack's next plot line, and it's not a completely it's not a complete non sequitur.
Oh boy. And anyway, that said, I still feel like you guys should have had a conversation about your relationship and work-life balance and spending enough time together a year ago. This is a solvable problem. People can change. You should have talked about this. You should not have kept your worries in your head and then just decided to leave him. I think that counseling could have fixed this. I think it's too late to fix it, but it would have been fixable if you had a conversation.
Yeah, I think it's trying to make the point that no matter what, Jack would always fall into this pattern. So... Yeah,
I mean, I'm not saying it's guaranteed to be fixed. Maybe they would talk about it, work on it, but he just wouldn't be able to change. But I just feel like that kind of thing is worth a try, and she didn't even try.
Right, but
I mean, it's also on Jack more than it's on her, for sure.
I think
not
now
gonna blame her for this.
We can now move into what is actually a happy relationship of Juliet and Goodwin.
Yeah, it's like...
Also, I just want to say, when you look at Juliet's ex-husband, and then you look at Goodwin, and we know that she's going to get with Sawyer later, in terms of just, like, objective attractiveness, she's moving up that ladder.
She upgraded.
Yeah, she
Yeah, I mean,
upgrades every turn.
Goodwin just seems like, he's just, like he's significantly older than her.
Yeah, I think that just has to do with the actors and everything. They had introduced different characters at different times, so they were already committed to the actors and everything.
Yeah. But so,
well,
I was
plus her
wondering,
ex-husband looked older than her, so maybe she just has a thing for that.
Yeah. So I was thinking here, like, wow, they're on the beach together. Are they still keeping it a secret? And it's like, okay, yeah, they're keeping it a secret because they say, like, they don't get to do this very often.
And they make a whole thing where it's like, oh yeah, everybody knows that Ben likes Juliet. And Goodwin says it's okay because Ben trusts him because Goodwin works with chemicals that could kill everyone on the island. So there has to be some trust there.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, just to clear up, because for some reason some people still think that this is a mystery. Those are the chemicals that were used when they wiped out the Dharma Initiative. Like, it was those ones. And it's like...
So they're still keeping him around, I guess.
They are. They just, I guess, just in case of something. Anyway, how we get the most whack season 3 plot.
Jack, oh man. Sometimes you tell me something is like... You don't spoil anything, but you watch the episodes before I do, and sometimes you're like, oh, I bet you'll really like this one, or you won't like this. Sometimes I don't know what you mean. I think maybe you meant this, I don't know. This time you told me I'm going to get the most whack Season 3 plot. It's considered the worst episode even by the writers.
Yep.
And I knew exactly what you meant when I got to this.
Yeah, it is... So... I just want you to imagine, okay... You start watching Lost in 2004. Of course, this isn't me, because in 2004 I was 6 years old. But you start watching in 2004.
I was 5.
Yeah, you follow along for, like, however, 22 episodes. Then you have your whole summer break, and you're waiting for the next season, and you get it. And it's 22 more episodes, and they're showing more mysteries, but you also get some reveals. And then it's like, oh, you go through 22 more episodes in Season 2. And then you have to wait again. And then you get to Season 3. And then first, what they did in Season 3, just to twist the knife, is you get 6 episodes that just introduce more mysteries without solving anything. Then you get a 12-week break in between episodes 6 and 7. Then you get episodes 7 and 8, which I forget what happens in them, but I guarantee it wasn't interesting. I think it might have even just been other whack Season 3 plotlines. And then you get trailers saying, answers will be revealed in this next episode. And you've waited so long. And the answer that they choose to reveal is how Jack got his tattoos. How fucking disappointing would this episode be?
All I can say about that is, I don't know why people say Lost doesn't answer enough of its questions, because clearly it answers too many of them.
Yes, this is a question that no one was asking. And especially because the answer is to, oh, why does Jack have these tattoos? The answer is because Matthew Fox has those tattoos. Yeah. That's the reason.
Man.
I don't understand.
This is just... And that is not even close to what I think is the worst thing about this flashback. Because
Well, the worst thing is that it's completely pointless. There's no point to this flashback.
Oh yeah. Worst thing of all, probably that's pointless, and there's more. Because so we start...
And at least with, like, say, Kate's flashback with the whole married to a cop thing, it just goes in a circle, basically.
But you know what?
She's on the run, meets a guy, marries, leaves, on the run again.
Honestly...
It's a complete circle.
It did add something to her character, like, her choosing to leave him. That was a choice that it wasn't something we'd seen her character go through before.
It showed something at least about her character, and at least there was, like, emotional content to it that the actors could play with to at least keep me invested scene to scene. And there's none of that here. And
that wasn't playing off weird, look at how exotic and incomprehensible some foreign culture is.
Right, and also I should say the actress that they got to play this girl is, like, she's very, I'm gonna say weird, because it seems like she's just like a compulsive liar, because if you reading just her Wikipedia page, it's like, oh, it said that she was in the student protests in China, and she did this, and she did that.
Oh.
However, there are no records of any of this, and we only have her word to go off of, and the timelines don't quite match up.
You know what? As someone with Chinese...
No, and this stems to even Lost, too, because...
Well, I just want to mention, just directly related to that, as someone with Chinese family, as far as I know, the whole thing with, being in, the people's, the protests and stuff and everything, is one of those things where, everybody in that generation says, oh, I was there. Everybody in that generation... in America, everyone says, oh, I was at Woodstock. It's like that.
Right. But it's the thing is that's her big one, but there's also just little lies that she just sprinkles in everywhere. When they announced that she was going to be in this episode, she's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be in Lost for 3 episodes. And then everyone's like, 3 episodes? Oh, you're going to be someone on the show. And then it was like, no, she's just in this 1 episode. Don't know why she said 3. That's a weird thing to lie about that is immediately disproven as the episodes air.
Maybe she didn't know about how it was. Maybe she thought maybe they filmed a lot more.
Oh, she knew. You can't not know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're going to skip over most of this plot line until it gets to the finale, because most of it is completely pointless.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is that it's pointless, but I want to go through it so I can say everything I dislike about it.
Okay.
So it starts with, he's in Thailand, some kid gives him soda, and I was giving Jack the benefit of the doubt when I first saw this. I thought, maybe Jack, he decided he needed to find himself, and so he went to work as a doctor in a place that needed more good doctors.
Nope, just on vacation.
Nope, he's just on vacation. And then, we get Achara is laughing at him because he can't fly the kite. And, it's all, well, they meet nice people. And it already is giving me red flags because it's just wow, you're divorcing your wife. And so your wife is divorcing you. And so you go to an Asian country to meet a hot Asian girl. Is Jack a libertarian?
See, it's also so weird because as soon as he gets back, the plot line picks up where he's obsessed with his wife still. Yeah. And it's like, wow, what about the whole thing in Thailand, Jack? What was that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure, I was gonna get to that later. But so then he goes, she eats some food. I think this is her brother. He tries some food, and they talk about it, and she's like, I don't care about your dad, which, didn't mean anything. And she gets handed an envelope, which, I don't care what it means. But it's just, apparently it's a month later, and she is going to his bedroom to have sex with him. And it's this just feels like sex tourism, which is just such a weird direction for Jack's plot to go. After... his hole, he needs something to work on, and after, his wife leaves him, I feel like Jack...
It's like the weed farm, except it's actually detrimental to the person's character.
This is weirder than the weed farm. And it's I just don't think Jack is in a place emotionally where he would go to Thailand for a vacation to find himself. I think that he would continue obsessing over his ex-wife, as we saw him do later, and I think... he would pour himself even further into his work. He would indulge into it. And so this doesn't make sense as a decision for him, and it makes even less sense when it just feels like he's going for sex tourism.
The only sense it makes is that you are a writer who is making a popular series and has not been given an end date as to when they can stop writing the series, and you have to go, okay, how can I write something that will fill up a 42-minute episode but not move the plot forward in any meaningful way?
Okay, but
the answer is to write an entire thing about someone going to Asia and getting tattoos.
So she says that, oh, there are things you will never understand, and I have a gift. And even now, I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. My favorite
This is never explained either. It's just she just knows.
You know what? Miles can see dead people. You know what? It's not a big deal. But I'm just thinking... I'm still giving it the benefit of the doubt. My best guess is she is involved in organized crime, and they want to scam rich American tourists who, when Americans come to their country for sex tourism, I can't blame them. So I'm thinking maybe it's something...
the exact opposite of that.
Maybe it's something like that, which...
No, it was that the sex was fine, but the actual work was the bad part.
Yeah, well... Okay, then we get a brief thing with Ana Lucia. Let's just talk about that later so I can focus on the Jack stuff being nonsense. because then he follows her, and it's like a strip club. I'm like, oh, maybe and I'm like, oh, he's following her. Maybe she actually works at a strip club and is like a prostitute because sex tourism, and he somehow wouldn't have realized that but no, it's not even that. He follows her into a tattoo parlor, and I'm still like, ooh, maybe this is like where all the organized crime people go. But like, no, it's just she sees who people are and gives them tattoos that fit their souls. Really?
Yep.
And he's like, oh, I can't do this for you because you're an outsider, which is so, like, why? Who cares? Why is this a rule? This isn't like a thing. I don't think this is a thing in Thailand because psychic powers like that aren't real. So
also,
I don't
do you want to know something that even twists the knife of this being so stupid even further?
Oh boy, tell me.
So the reading of his tattoos, at least what they say in Lost, I don't know if that's what they actually say because I don't speak Thai, is, he walks among us, but he is not one of us. And when a character in the show points this out, you know what Jack responds with? He responds with, that's what they say, that's not what they mean. Which is like, so the entire thing was pointless, so we didn't find out what they mean at all. What was the point of this?
Oh man, we should. What do they actually say? Like in real, look it up.
I don't care. No, I'm not. No, I refuse to look it up. Out of principle,
you don't want to indulge it. Okay. But anyway, and he pushes her against the wall, saying, "You need to tell me who I am." She's like, "You're a leader," which is like, okay, yeah, they say he's a leader, so it can tie into, he's the leader of the group. He's the main character. And he demands that tattoo, which, like, okay, already this feels so out of character for Jack, but him demanding the tattoo, it also feels so out of character for him. And she's like, it's against my people. There will be consequences, which, like, first of all, this seems like complete bullshit that this is remotely a cultural taboo. Oh, our magic psychic people tattoos that tell you who you are, they can't be given to outsiders. Who cares? What does it matter? This feels like such a fake cultural taboo that is just the writers indulging in exoticism for foreign cultures. And also, if
Also,
people...
it feels like if that was really the scenario, she should have just, like, put on him, like, pad thai with shrimp. Like,
yeah.
Just put something like that on that's meaningless.
And then, if you know that your brother and his friends are gonna beat the shit out of him for that, just say it. Don't be like, there will be consequences. Just say it. It's like, this feels like the writers have never been to Thailand. It just feels, it feels vaguely disrespectful to Thai culture. I don't want to be like, I'm not Thai, I don't want to be like white knighting for them, but it definitely seems vaguely disrespectful to Thai culture, but it's so weird I can't even say specifically how. But anyway, he gets that tattoo, and then when he gets up in the morning, everyone's looking at him, and they go and they just beat the shit out of him. And it's like, and they're like, it's like, get out of our country, don't come back. And it's just like, why do they care? Why is this a thing? This makes no sense.
I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
This is like this. It's like if you wanted to write Jack accidentally violating, like, okay, they wrote this to explain the tattoo, so everything else is just bullshit. But if you wanted to write a plot line of like, you went to a foreign country and you accidentally violated some cultural taboo.
But this wasn't an accident. This was completely on purpose.
Yeah, okay, but it's like, oh, you violated some cultural taboo. You could try and write something that made any sense for that. Or you could, research the actual culture and maybe find something that would actually make sense. And maybe there wouldn't be something that makes sense, because I feel like most of the time, just this pure exoticism scenario of the natives beating you up for doing something isn't real. Okay. I think that's all I have to say about it. But that was some nonsense.
Right. There's also a funny thing where I like to watch Lost reactions online sometimes. And sometimes in seasons 1 or 2, someone will just make a comment whenever they have a scene with Jack shirtless, and it'll just be like a little thing of like, oh, I wonder what his tattoos mean. And everyone in the comments will just be laughing their asses off over someone asking that, because like, oh boy, you're gonna find out what they mean. Trust me.
Oh yeah, here's the worst part. I don't think I had seen Jack shirtless before this, or if I did, I didn't notice that tattoo.
He's always
so if you watch the show normally, then yeah, you at least it's answering a question. It's a stupid question, but at least you watch this thinking, well, they're explaining this. But I wasn't. I didn't know about the tattoo. And most of the backstories work as stories, especially stuff like Locke or Echo or Saeed. There's a progression of what they go through. You are seeing the stages of their life. It all, even outside of the context of the island, they're interesting.
This didn't need to be a flashback. Again, there's going to be a scene where...
This just isn't part of his life. We get him showing up to the divorce proceedings, and it's just unrelated to this.
Yeah, it's like, really? You took an entire, month-long trip to Thailand in the middle of your divorce proceedings?
It just doesn't make sense.
I don't think the legal world works that way.
It's not part of his story. I'm just going to consider this non-canon from here on, because I'm pretty sure that the rest of the show basically will too.
Yeah, there's going to be... Here's the thing. There's going to be one conversation, like I told you, where someone is like, oh, this is what they say. And it's like, that's what they say, that's not what they mean. That is all you needed. If any one of the 4 people who were honestly interested in what his tattoos mean, that's all you need. You need that 10-second scene of someone just literally saying what it means. You didn't need a 20-minute backstory involving this random girl in Thailand.
Also, she smile cries after she watching him after he gets beat up. I'm just like, screw you. Anyway, okay, Ana Lucia.
Now to move on to a plot line that is actually good.
It was interesting, and I mean interesting. I don't mean interesting kind of bad. It was interesting in a good way, but I guess I skipped over it. But we saw her in therapy, Well, we saw her in a shooting range, and then in therapy. Some Danny left her, and she says I want to.
Something left her.
She says it felt good to hold a gun again, that feels like foreshadowing. But she wants to go back to work. And it's up to her therapist, and he gives her badge back.
I just want to say, because Ana Lucia is played by, Michelle Rodriguez, I don't know if you've seen anything else she's in.
I'm not sure I have.
At all. Right. She's in the Fast and Furious movies, I know.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen any of those.
Yeah, and she's in the Resident Evil movies.
And
she's in a lot of things. And basically, this actress, all of her characters are, #girlboss, strong female character. Except that, she plays into that so well that it's you know what? I accept it. If it's her playing it, then it's fine.
She was plenty flawed here,
Right. But it's she plays, the same person in everything that she's in.
Yeah.
But it's because she plays it well that she keeps getting work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think by this point when they cast her, she was easily, the most famous person they had really gotten. This, other than in bit parts. I know there's going to be one bit scene. It's one scene. They have, what's his name? The guy who plays Lando Calrissian in Star Wars.
Oh shit, I don't remember his name either.
Right, they get him for one scene.
They get Lando, yeah.
Yeah, but I think she was a pretty big name. That it's she's going to be in this movie, because I think by this time she had done Fast and Furious.
God, all the Fast and Furious family memes have been so prevalent right now, and by the time this episode comes out in a few months, by the time people can listen to this episode,
those fucking memes, honestly.
I don't like those memes because they're memes whether it's just let's take the same joke and apply it to everything we possibly can without it being clever.
The only good one was that Vin Diesel using family is how Luffy uses Nakama, because that's just correct.
Okay,
it's the same.
But that's
it's the same.
I hate that you told me that. I wish.
But I'm not wrong though. I'm not wrong though.
Yeah, but it's just. Look, anyway, by the time this episode comes out, those memes will already be outdated.
Good.
But I hope you listeners remember. I hope you listeners think back on them and realize that those memes sucked. But anyway, Ana Lucia, she's a cop, but she doesn't want a desk job. She wants to patrol because she wants to beat up homeless people. And then it turns out it's her mother who's in charge of her, and her mother's like, I'm not letting you patrol. You were involved in a shooting. And I thought it was that she shot someone,
no,
but then it turns out she was shot.
Her baby.
Which actually makes... I was thinking, yeah, don't let her patrol again. I was thinking, like, at least make her work on the desk for a few months. But after, knowing she was shot, okay, it makes a little more sense. Still, I feel like her mom gave in on the argument. Her mom was like, okay, fine, I'll let you patrol really easily. I feel like she shouldn't have.
I think it was because she said, well, then transfer me. And I think her mom was thinking, it's better that I give her a patrol here where I can keep an eye on her than for her to go somewhere else. So she gets to go ride along with her.
She gets to ride along, and her partner... I said I don't want to get political, but her partner seems like he'd be the kind of cop who would be racist. But then he's actually a good dude.
Yeah, he's the...
Like, they are writing things with
He's the good cop in their duo.
They are writing things with nuance here, because he's driving her in a safe neighborhood, and then she agrees on the radio to respond to a domestic dispute, and they go, and it's just domestic dispute, and wow, she takes out her gun so unnecessarily. Like, this is a textbook example of the situation where you really don't need to take out your gun. This is like the textbook example people use of, like, this is not a situation we need to send a person with a gun to. And she takes it out anyway, and her partner is like, chill the hell out. Holy shit. And it's like, calm down, Ana Lucia.
Right, she's basically proving her mother right, that she's not ready for patrol.
I'm just like, this show, like, I was expecting it to, in 2000 to maybe idealize cops like that. This is not idealizing them. This is saying, like,
2005, I think.
Yeah, if you are a cop who is straight up, like, this is saying, like, yeah, like, this is essentially saying there are good cops who are helping the situation, because obviously this domestic dispute needed cops, but it's not, like, if you are a cop who is going to overreact and take out your gun like that, that is not good.
Right, and I think that's something that Lost does really well with everything, is that it doesn't glamorize anything. It doesn't glamorize being, like, the best spinal surgeon in the world. It's like your marriage falls apart and you still don't feel like you have your dad's approval. It doesn't glamorize even winning the lottery, because it's like, oh, it changes things with you and your friends and everything. It's obviously, and this things obviously is never going to glamorize, like, being an Iraqi torturer or being a drug runner. Like, it's just not going to glamorize those things. But even, even being a rock star, even if it's cliche to do
the rock star,
it still doesn't glamorize it. And it's not even,
I don't, you know what, it glamorized a little bit of Jin and Sun's marriage, but then even that, things are clearly...
But it instantly went wrong, though.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Oh, yeah. Instantly.
Yeah, well, you could say in there, it doesn't glamorize the sort of social hierarchy in at least South Korea. If that's accurate, I don't know if it is. Don't come at me for assuming things based off an American television show.
Yeah. We recognize our ignorance here. We're just a couple of idiots.
Yeah, no, I just, it's an American show, and I'll just believe everything on there because I'm probably not going to ever go to Korea. So
yeah, and I have the excuse of being a stupid American. You don't.
Well, then that just means I'm right, because I'm not stupid.
Alright, anyway, to get back to the actual plot, you get
a time flash.
Wait. No, there's something before that. Because they picked up the guy they picked up the guy who shot her. And she is just like, he confessed, we know everything, you just have to identify him. And she says it's not. I'm like, what the hell? This is probably him. So I'm already thinking.
And she does it so non-convincingly too. She doesn't even think.
Oh yeah. But she is just. I'm just thinking, Ana Lucia, please don't tell me that you want to beat the shit out of him yourself. Please don't tell me that's what you want to do.
Not beat the shit out of. It's more than that.
Yeah, it was worse. So then we get the time travel, and it's Jin.
Another thing I want to say is her mom makes the comment that the dude shot 4 hollow point bullets into her, which, as I've looked this up, and a lot of people have mentioned, it's the point where when you're shooting hollow points, you're shooting that to kill someone, because they're designed to go through bulletproof vests. Like, so this guy it was literally attempted murder on her. Like, I can understand why she wants revenge.
Oh yeah,
Especially since he killed
no.
her
Yeah, no.
unborn
We
baby.
find out later she was pregnant. Oh, like in terms of that, I totally understand. It's just like I'm not a very. I mean, revenge can be satisfying, but mostly I'm not a revenge guy. I'm a like do things properly guy, and like I'm a mostly an anti-murder guy.
Yeah, I get that. I don't know. I see the value in revenge.
I don't.
The thing with Anna though is that they
already had him.
Yeah, is that they had him. It's not like I will say one of my favorite other American shows is a show called Dexter. And at first, the premise of that show was that he would go after killers who slipped through the cracks of the system. But as the show went on, it became he purposefully hunts them out against the police. And like it's shown as like a bad thing. And I like that kind of dichotomy where it's like, yeah, if they slip through the system and they don't get the justice that's deserved, then yeah, you know what, fine, street justice. But when the system is there and ready to take care of them, I don't know.
Yeah, the thing about it, this might be a personal me thing, where I hate the idea of being trapped somewhere for the rest of my life. That horrifies me. So because of that, maybe because of that, I'm not sure, I don't really have a problem with people getting life in prison. I generally don't think life in prison isn't enough. They have to die. I'm like, you know what? Life in prison, that, like, sure. And this guy, I feel like, hollow point bullets on a pregnant woman, I feel like he would probably get life in prison, especially as the legal system was probably going to be like...
Especially hollow point bullets on a pregnant cop.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
what I was about to say. I was about to say that, like, the system would be especially harsh on him for doing that to a cop. They would want that. That's how cops get their revenge. Well, it's one way cops get their revenge, because we clearly see her do it in different ways.
One of several.
But okay, he would definitely get life in prison, and I don't think, he needs to die. I think life in prison's fine, and I don't know what state this is in, but I feel like it also might just be a state where he would get the death sentence. Very possible.
No, it's California. They're at LAPD.
Okay. Well, I'm fine with him getting life in prison, so I don't think she needed to kill him herself. Like that.
But it's clear that was her goal the entire time.
Like, yeah, because sometimes, like, some people will justify, because like you're saying, like, if they're already in the system, because some people will say, like, it needed to be done, they needed to be killed, and this is not a case where it's like, it needed to be done, so it was only personal for her. And when it's personal, I'm like, I don't know if that's the best decision.
Right, and even, because as we see after she's killed him, does she look any happier? Does it seem like her life is more fulfilled? No. Like, she's still an empty shell, basically.
Yeah.
But anyway, we get this time flash now.
We get Jin. I miss Jin.
So this
Jin
is basically great. After the whole thing with the French team and everything that Jin went through.
Yeah, and I think it might... Is it after the 50s arc?
Yes.
Because they're with Locke. That's what made me think that. Because Locke met them again when he saved them from being killed.
Correct.
Yeah, but
I think so.
You know what? I say that now, but in my notes, what I literally have is I'm not going to worry about how this fits together in the timeline because
don't worry about it.
It's all a bunch of individual scenes. I think we can just assume it works.
Right. I think this is near when they actually get to the Orchid.
Yeah.
So they meet up with Sawyer, and they thought Jin was dead because he was on the boat that blew up.
Yeah.
And they give the explanation that the blast threw him into the water.
Yeah, he washed up, but then everyone else actually got home. So I'm sure I'll see how that happened eventually.
Well, you kind of won't. It's just that for some reason, the way the explosion worked is that it just threw him close enough to the island that he traveled in time, but everybody else didn't. And it's like, okay.
No, I mean, no. I mean in the sense that did the boat physically was the boat intact enough to take them home or
Oh, right.
yes,
you'll see.
Yeah. But anyway,
and
so
he does that thing where he goes, oh, where's Sun? Because these two can never
Yeah.
be united.
and so this is before we see a bit later we're gonna see him being like, to tell Sun I died, and this is before that.
Right. And so this is before, Jin has learned a lot of English. So they can't really... So they go,
they have the whole thing.
Translate.
So,
and they're like... Sawyer thinks Miles can translate.
Yeah, and he's like, Miles, translate. And Miles, it's just like... It's like, he's Korean, I'm from Encino. And it's just like, wow. But this isn't even Miles doing anything. But for some reason, just stuff like this is like why I like Miles.
Oh, he's funny. He's hilarious. But of course, it's actually Charlotte who can translate because...
Which is... sure. I don't know why, but
the point is that she's an anthropologist, so she knows the basics of lots of languages.
Oh, that makes sense. Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway,
that's why when
Daniel...
ask,
and also...
what other languages do you know? And she's like, oh yeah, just Klingon. But it's like she knows
anyway,
languages.
Just to further mess with my idea of who gets introduced when and who knows each other. What?
I was just going to say, just another thing with that is that you can hear, I don't know if you were paying attention, is that when she's speaking Korean, she uses a lot of loan words from English. So it's clear that her Korean is not complete, It's not as good as Jacob's, obviously.
Yeah. Just for it to further mess with my perception of who gets introduced when and how much time they spend together, Daniel and Charlotte are kind of talking like they don't know each other that much here.
It's
maybe
complicated, but will make sense later.
Because I feel like when he says he loves her is like not that much later after this because they're already time traveling. So
yeah,
I'm not sure what to make of it actually because I feel like that would need more setup. But it felt like they didn't know each other that well here.
It's complicated. It'll make more sense.
And one last thing, so I still don't know why Ben messed with the wheel. I think Daniel maybe says something about time shifts happening because people left the island, but then I thought it was just because the wheel was off. But it's just a bunch of stuff I'm still confused by that will be answered someday.
Well, the whole thing with time flashes happening because people left the island. That's Daniel says bringing people back to the island to make this whole thing stop. That's where we leave science behind. So it's more like a magical belief, faith thing that Locke has, that bringing them back will fix it.
Okay. But Locke was like,
because
not quite right.
The thing is, Locke doesn't believe they should have left, is basically the whole thing.
Okay, but so is the entire... Because my other question that I still don't know is, why did they need to get back to the island? Like when we see... Whatever happened to them after the nuke going off is just still... It's still like, okay, what's the purpose after that? It's not escape the island because they could have escaped the island before that. So it's just like... I don't know, I'm just wondering, like...
The nuke, the whole point of that was to stop the timeline. It was
yeah. But just in general, like, because I still wondered why did people need to be...
Though. Desmond still has to push a button that he will
inevitably
fail to push.
Yeah, but I mean, not getting in terms of like what their goal was in that, but just like in general, like because I wondered a while back why did Jack and Kate and Hurley need to be brought back to the island? Okay, you say Locke believed it, but I mean Locke ended up dying, and it's like I don't know, just like what's the purpose? And
see, it's a really good question, and I think the point here is really what Daniel says, where he's like, that's where we leave science behind. It's like the purpose is magical, it's mystical, it's destiny, it's faith. It's not something tangible.
Alright. Anyway, we get Ana Lucia in a bar. The guy passes by, and she just walks up to him outside, shoots him multiple times. She's like, I was pregnant before you got me. Shoot again. I'm just like, look, Ana Lucia, you should not be a cop.
No.
You are gonna get caught for this.
She resigns after this, so...
Yeah,
clearly.
that's... I'm like... Alright, well, she stopped being caught, but... you should not be a cop. You're gonna be caught for this. I'm even wondering if...
What are you talking about?
She should not be a cop. This is not okay. And then, you know what, next her mom questions her.
Well, wait, before that, they're meeting in like this parking lot. And did you notice anything in the parking lot?
No. What did I have to notice?
All the cop car numbers are the numbers.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I don't.
This is why I'm here to get them for you. Don't worry about it.
That's why you're here.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. She filed the registration off the gun, left no prints. There were no witnesses, and yet you couldn't think of a good enough alibi to say what you watched on TV last night.
Right. Well, it's the kind of thing where, if this would go to court, then she would come up with one. Like.
Yeah. I wonder where her plotline is going to go after this. Is she just going to get away with it?
It will go... The thing is, I really like Ana Lucia, and maybe it's just the nostalgia, because I really liked her in the first Resident Evil movie when I watched it as a kid, and I still like that movie, even though people think it's terrible.
You're such a Resident Evil fan.
Too much, honestly.
I know.
And it will go in a very interesting direction. You're not going to guess where it's going to go, but it's...
Sure.
It's not like it's whack. It's just you wouldn't suspect it based on things.
Yeah.
But it's very interesting. What they do with her character, it's really good. It just I can't explain what I don't like about it until we get there.
Huh. Well, one last thing I have to say about it is, Ana Lucia, you were so excited to get back to being a cop. I'm not sure if that was a good idea because you took out your gun very unnecessarily. You were so excited for it, and now you throw it away just because you wanted to kill a guy.
Right, and her mom says, let me help you, and Anna says no, and her mom says, well, you're going to need help from someone if it's not me, which, often when lines are said at the end of flashback plot lines, they are important to what is going to be going on with their character.
Yeah. Anyway, next we get Bernard and Rose meeting, which is just great.
Oh, absolutely. She's stuck in some fake snow.
It's so nice. They're so helpful to each other. They have chemistry. They're great old people. And the best part is, they're old enough that they've been through too much life to miss this opportunity. They're gonna get coffee together.
Exactly. You see them after he helps her get her car unstuck. You see them trying to find any reason to keep the conversation going.
They keep looking back at each other. And if it was me, I would have missed that opportunity. I would have been too nervous. It's like they've been through too much.
Rose isn't taking chances.
They're not going to waste this, and they're just great.
Right. So obviously that plotline will continue.
It's so between so much of the messed up love in this backstory, it's just nice to see them who they have it figured out.
Exactly. They're the best couple in the show. Honestly, like you see. Yeah. Back in the 70s and the time travel thing, they're like, we're not getting involved in any of this plot drama or any of this relationship drama. We're just gonna chill in our island house and be fine, and we're not gonna worry about it.
They have it figured out.
Right. And then anyway, we get the Claire storyline.
Claire, she's pregnant, and her boyfriend, he seems a little dopey, but his heart's in the right place.
Right, and I just want to say, in this whole thing, they said, oh, my mom will disown me. Oh, she basically already has. And it's like, that's a weird way to talk about your mom who's in a coma.
Yeah, Almost like
the coma thing was written in way later.
Oh, yeah, huh.
And it's like, I guess it technically works.
The thing about this Claire plotline is it was fine, but nothing wrong with it, but it felt very unconnected to, what we saw with her before. I feel like I didn't entirely remember where we left off with her, but then it felt like I didn't need to.
Yeah, it's also a thing with Claire is that one of her major flashback things, I think I mentioned this to you before, is that starting a little bit in Season 2 and a lot in Season 3, and maybe a little bit in Season 4, is, they're running out of flashbacks, right? Mm-hmm. So what they would do sometimes is they would flash back to stuff that had happened on the island that we just did not see.
Oh.
And, yeah, this is...
Is that gonna feel weird when I go through chronologically? Is that gonna be something noticeably out of place and you'll point it out? Or
there will be one that is very noticeably out of place that I won't even have to point it out because it'll be so obvious to you and everyone who's watched it. The other ones, it will feel natural. It will just make certain twists not be twists because we've already seen the flashback solution to them.
Huh. Is it fine that way?
Oh, it's fine. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, like I said, her boyfriend, his heart's in the right place. I found his lines funny where he's like, oh, the lines are red when they're pink, or like he's saying like, we thought my uncle had testicular cancer. It's like, he did. He's dead.
Yeah, he's
and
not
he's
sharpest tool
and he wants to support them with his painting, which that didn't go
We've
great.
seen
with
how
Michael.
that goes bad.
I'm rooting for these kids. I'm rooting. I know that they're gonna end up. I know Claire's gonna end up on the island, but I'm rooting for him.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
then
they go to see a psychic, and this psychic dude clearly sees something bad. And
Yeah. And I'm just like, okay, it's probably that she's gonna end up on the island, or maybe not. Maybe there's something worse in her backstory coming up.
Right. Well, there's also gonna be a thing. This psychic character is so fucking weird, and nobody in the fandom can explain it because there's no explaining what he does. It's just,
if this was real, I would just try and think like, all right, what trick did he use to figure out she's pregnant? What did he notice?
This
How was
isn't
he
a trick
reading?
because he gives her the money back. So it's like,
yeah, but then I'm like, okay, this is a TV show. They could just write him knowing, and they could just write psychics existing. So okay, he figured it out because he's psychic. I mean, he lives in a big house. He's clearly gotten good money, so maybe being a real psychic was actually
this is not the last
profitable.
time we're going to see the psychic. So, things of him will show up. I don't want to say explain because they won't be.
We get then we get Jack watching Sarah work as a teacher and having a boyfriend, and I will say it's around here that I just started to think, more Jack? We've gotten so much Jack, and there's some characters we still need more of. I'm not sure I might not have thought more Jack here if we hadn't gotten that weird-ass Thailand plotline.
Yeah, I was going to say, without the Thailand thing, it feels like an appropriate amount of Jack.
Yeah, but he's definitely just gets so much. He gets the most, I think.
He's the main character. I think he had the most flashbacks.
And it would feel less redundant if we hadn't gotten that extra one. But, this feels like it adds to his character more, struggling with the divorce. And, because it's, we covered it, but it's like, this is still going on, so the Thailand stuff is so out of place.
Yeah.
Anyway, then we get Hurley eating chicken, watching TV.
And he wins the lottery using the numbers.
Which is just, you know what? That is a great... if you have this whole numbers-ass plot line, and Hurley's the big one with it, he always sees them, yeah, you know what? I think it's a great plot idea that he wins the lottery using them.
Right, and it's a funny thing. He's so shocked that he passes out, and then his mother comes in and to wake him up is just viciously slapping him.
Yeah.
Which I love. And also, I love the way his mom pronounces his name. She never says Hugo. She always drops the H. It's Ugo.
Yeah. And so, you know what? He talks about how he likes his life. He doesn't need to he enjoys where he is in life. And that's why it's strange, well, now everything's gonna change.
Yeah, which is why he does this whole last day being a poor dude kind of deal. But anyway, now we're gonna go to Jack in divorce proceedings, which somehow
and it's
took a month break while he was in Thailand.
He fired his lawyer, and then he keeps apologizing, which you're past apologizing. Stop being sorry about everything.
The thing is, he's Jack. He always has to try to fix something.
Yeah, and then he insists she says who it is that she's with, and she just leaves and doesn't tell him, which is right.
Right, and here's the thing. Obviously, this plotline is going to continue in the next episode.
Yeah.
But I have to say, we know who the new guy is. You know why we know who it is?
Oh, was it the old fiance?
No. No, it's Phil Dunphy from Modern Family, because she has to go be on that show.
Oh, really?
No, it's not actually him. I'm just making a joke.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Because this is about the time the actress would then go on to star in Modern Family.
Wait, she was the one on Modern Family?
Yeah, she's the mom.
I barely saw that show, but I didn't recognize her for that.
Yeah, no. So it's oh yeah, the other guy. It's the guy that she will be married to on this other show.
Anyway,
it's just a terrible
all I have
joke.
to say here is
whatever.
he is sure. he is insisting so hard that she has to tell him who she's with. And all I can say is, what if she insisted that you tell her that you went to Thailand, had sex with this weird, exotic lady, and then got beat up for making her give you a magic tattoo? Like, okay, if you want her to tell you what she's been doing, why don't you tell her what you've been doing, Jack?
Yeah, well, the reason he doesn't is because they hadn't written that yet.
Yeah.
And they clearly didn't want to write it either.
So Hurley is at his job. We talked a little while we watched this episode, but him staring so much at the lottery ticket, the way you put it that he wants his last day as a poor person, I get that makes sense. But when I was watching it, I was so like, oh man, just cash it in. You're making me worry here because I'm worried you're going to lose it. I'm worried someone's going to steal it. I don't like this. Just cash it in so I can stop worrying.
Right.
And
see, I guess
to the point that
maybe that's an issue with the whole chronological version, because when you see this the normal way, you know he is a lottery winner.
Yeah.
So you're not concerned as to whether or not he's going to cash it.
So actually, like, while we only talk a little about the episodes before recording, but I even was saying, like, oh man, like, this is worrying, man. You told me, don't worry, he cashes it in, and I'm glad you told me, because it was just making me anxious.
Right, and so we get a meeting with his boss, who's a complete dick.
Oh my God.
But there is kind of a funny thing where it's like, okay, you owe the company for an 8-piece
it's like,
meal.
It's so, look, it's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like,
I know, but there's a funny thing where he goes, I didn't eat 8 pieces. He goes, you want to watch the whole tape? Like,
you know what? If the boss was just like, I can't have you eating on the job, I can't have you eating without paying for it, I would understand. But saying you owe the company an 8-piece specific combo, shut the fuck up, you Randy.
Yeah, we're gonna see more of Randy, unfortunately.
But he quits, and his friend quits too, and they seem like bros to the point that, it makes me sad how the buddy's gonna change things, because they're bros.
You know they're bros, because one of them is, like, rail thin, and the other one is very fat, which is, as you and I know, that makes the best friends.
Oh yeah, that's you and me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
listeners,
so
guess who's who?
All we need is for you to win the lottery.
Yeah.
And
anyway, they have a thing where they go to this, music store, because this is 2003 or 2004, and I want to say they're singing along. They're singing along to Charlie's song, but they don't know the lyrics.
I hate that song. God, I hate that song. And you know what? What was his friend's name? Because I want to know his name.
I don't even remember.
Okay, well, he says more like suckshaft. He is right.
Yeah, no, I just love that they're singing along to this song, but they do not know the lyrics. They're getting them wrong.
Well, they know "You Are Everybody," which is the worst lyric
No, they don't. They don't even get that. They think it's "You Are Everybody."
Oh, well, same thing.
No, I was even, when it came up, I watched it with subtitles just to catch things. And I was like, oh, are the subtitles wrong? And I'm like, wait, no, they're wrong. They're singing it wrong.
You know what? It's bad either way. But then he talks to this... the girl he talks to is really cute.
Yeah. Very cute.
No, and he asks her out, and it's just like, oh, I have to work, but I can do Saturday. Good for you, Hurley. Just goes to show it's not even about how you look. It's about being nice and interesting and confident.
Right, and his friend is like, you've been crushing on her for so long, and just all of a sudden now you're asking her out after you quit your... What is this?
He wants to do it before cashing it in, so he knows that... Because if he did it after becoming rich, then he would worry it was just about the money.
Right.
Which I think, if anything, he should have waited until after the date to cash it in.
Well, I think he was maybe planning on it.
Yeah, maybe.
But
I mean, it didn't
happen. Yeah, forces his hand.
It didn't go. But anyway, then they start stealing garden gnomes, I think, which is
so that they can spell "cluck you" on Randy's lawn, which I love.
It's really funny to me because in this show we have seen con men, we have seen murder, we have seen like blowing up house murder,
but
and it's just so funny to me that
and it's great.
This is the crime we get here: stealing garden gnomes. I love it.
This is why everybody loves Hurley. Like, that's even an episode title. But everybody does love him. I don't think you could find a single person who watched this whole show and is like, I didn't like Hurley. He was a bad character.
Yeah. Also, this explains why he would end up reconnecting with his dad. His dad is gonna come back when it turns out he's rich.
Yeah. You
But
think his
you know
dad
what he
is
says-
trash enough to do that?
Yes.
Yeah. And there's a funny
His
thing.
dad-
He talks to his friend, and he makes his friend promise that things won't ever change. And then his friend's
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, let's go get a beer. Oh, can I borrow $2?"
And they see,
like,
yeah, and he laughs, and he's like, when he said "promise me things will never change," and his friend was like, "I know what this is." I thought it was gonna be like, "Oh, you're about to get a super hot girlfriend. Don't let it change our friendship." And instead, it's I think you're gonna get stomach stapling surgery.
which I mean, that would change someone's life. So
Yeah, but then they see the place, and they see them interviewing the guy who knows he sold a winning ticket, and the guy's just like, "That's him," and it's just,
and then his friend just looks so betrayed that Hurley never
Yeah.
told him, which is
Which
like,
I
God
think-
damn it.
I get it with Hurley. I don't think that should divide them here, because I think Hurley was gonna tell him. I think Hurley was probably gonna tell him before he cashed in. I think Hurley because Hurley hadn't told anyone yet. I don't think
Exactly.
Hurley was gonna there was no way Hurley was gonna cash it in behind his back. I think he just didn't want to tell anyone yet. I think he would probably be the first person he'd tell, other than maybe his mom.
Right, but then we get a cut to Hurley giving an actual interview, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, I just want to help, my family. I want to get my mom
he's a good
house,
dude.
and my grandpa, he deserves to retire." And then his grandpa dies of a heart attack.
Which is just, oh man, that's awful. And
Yeah.
it is very accurate to write a story such that winning the lottery does not fix your life and maybe even ruins your life.
Well, like he said, Hurley said he
But-
was happy
but-
with his
but-
life before he even...
Yeah, so that just sucks. But it's Hurley, and I want to root for him, so it's making me sad that it's gonna ruin his life.
Yeah,
It's gonna
see,
ruin his
everybody
friendship.
wants to root for Hurley.
It's his grandpa dies, and it's gonna ruin his friendship, and it might not go well with the girl he likes now, and
Yeah, and his friend
Who knows?
feels betrayed by him.
who knows what else. And then in the end, he's not gonna reap many benefits because he's gonna get stuck on an island. But if anything, I mean, Hurley, what I saw Hurley doing during the time travel arc, he seemed content enough. That's what's keeping me going through this. The fact that I don't think Hurley's gonna be too sad about it.
Yeah, nothing really gets Hurley that down, honestly. There's...
I mean, something did, but he seems like he's gotten past that.
Well, yeah, other than counting the deaths of 2 people, maybe, but probably not. Hurley's journey is just... I think it does go back to even what his trash dad told him, which is, you have to, believe good things will happen, and then they will. And I think that's something that he really shows in his whole character arc.
That's how I think. I just have this unjustified faith that everything's gonna work out.
Yeah, see, and that's why we're friends, because I have this unjustified faith that things are just never going to work out. So, also, I'm a bad friend, because I'm way more excited.
Aw.
No. Here's why. I'm a bad friend, because I'm way more excited
best friend.
for you to see the bad part, the absolute worst parts of the show, than I am for you to see the best parts.
No, that's...
I was way more excited for you to see the Thailand stuff than any of the other Jack parts.
I have gotten you to read things where, I wanted you to see what I liked about them, but I also really wanted you to see the things I hated about them.
We are nearing the end of the flashbacks here. I think we're getting real close, because we're in 2004.
Yeah, it's weird to me. In fact, okay, let me go through them. Okay, and tell me if I forget any.
Okay.
We're definitely gonna get more Echo. That's not done.
Right.
Saeed, I feel like I expected more, but I might not get it. I think... I still think we might get more Saeed, but I'm not sure.
Do you want me to tell you if you'll get more or no?
Honestly, yeah. Well, actually, you know what? Normally I would say just tell me, but because I'm doing this as, predictions, don't tell me.
Okay. Well, just another thing to remember here is that all of these people, or at least most of them, are going to end up on the same flight. So there has to be something that puts them all in the same place.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, I could see Saeed getting something just to show, well, he's in America here. Who else? Locke, I would love more. I think, especially considering there's not that much left, I might not get it. Maybe a little, but I think it could very well show him going on, a walk. Well, Okay, the thing is,
He was
I
told
think
to go on an Australian walkabout, so...
him becoming... I definitely want to see the walkabout and see him become a badass. Him becoming the badass might, I could see it just leaving that implied in between, considering we don't have that much time left for flashbacks. On the other hand, I'm gonna say we're gonna get more, because I think we do need to see just him being able to walk again.
Right,
Like,
that's
not the
obviously gonna
walkabout,
be
just
very important.
not the walkabout, but just walking.
Yes.
Jack, I mean, you said we'll get more Jack. Obviously, we need the
because
divorce
obviously
to...
the plot line of this has not finished.
But other than the divorce, I don't need more Jack anymore. Sawyer, I think we might be good on Sawyer. Kate, I think we're gonna see Kate get caught. I think we're gonna see like the final confrontation between her and the marshal.
Right. Well, I mean, we kind of know that's gonna happen based on previous statements.
Juliet, I think we definitely need more. I'm not really sure how... Okay, one thing I didn't mention is I'm not sure if Juliet... I'm still, like, unclear on if Juliet is just with the others but joins the main group, or if she leaves the others but then ends up on the plane, which would be a crazy coincidence. I'm really not sure about that. But even then, I think her whole romance with this guy has to be resolved. Or maybe not. Maybe it continues to during the main plot.
Right. Well, eventually it has to end so she can end up with Sawyer.
I need more Michael, but I hope some of the Michael will be him getting home in the end and resolving that. But I need more Michael.
That would be flashback Michael.
Yeah, but I think I still need a little more flashback Michael. Who else am I missing?
Sun and Jin.
Sun and Jin, I definitely need whatever's so crazy about that.
Obviously, I already told you there's going to be more
honestly,
of them.
Even if it's not that crazy, even if you didn't tell me how crazy it would be,
I don't even think it's that crazy. I just think it's really good.
Okay, well, I think you're not crazy, but you told me I wouldn't expect it, which my mind goes, okay, it's going to be crazy. But just good. Even if you hadn't hyped it up for me, I would be excited to see him working for the organized crime, which I need that. That's such a great direction.
There's Desmond still in that hatch with Mr. Krabs.
I think we're probably going to get more, but I think, like... Okay, the thing is, I need more Desmond to understand the plot and the lore of why he was there and what he was doing, but I don't need more Desmond in terms of seeing where his character will go next.
Okay, that's fair. You will,
It's
though.
not that I won't be interested. It's not that I won't be interested. It's just so much that like I'll be interested. It's just like where his character is going next isn't like a thing that needs to be resolved, because I know he's going to be in this situation. I know he's going to be in the hatch until he fails to press the button, which maybe that's the flashback I get, and that would be good.
Right.
Like those are my Desmond questions.
Yeah, there is Shannon and Boone, who we got that one flashback of.
I said I expected an incest because they had it, and you said I was onto something.
I just said you were picking up some vibes.
I don't even know what to expect there, but yeah, that's definitely one of the flashbacks where, like, that's just clearly an incomplete story. So I need more.
There's also Claire, obviously.
Claire also seems story. Not as incomplete, but definitely incomplete.
Yeah. There's Charlie, who I know is your favorite.
I'm not gonna. I don't know how much. I don't know what. I have no idea what to expect with Charlie. I don't know what I need for him. Maybe he. You know what? I'm gonna say he gets clean, or maybe he doesn't. I guess I'm not gonna say this is a prediction, but my question is, does he? Is he gonna be going through heroin withdrawal on the island?
Well, think about this also. What crashed on the island in this episode?
Yemi and...
Right.
Oh!
Right.
Oh!
Who says he's had to go through withdrawals?
But are they gonna have... They're gonna need to get some needles.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Oh boy, that's gonna be interesting.
Yep. Who else is left? Obviously, Mr. Echo, we still have to see him go to London.
Yeah, that's incomplete plotline. I think I mentioned that one.
Yeah.
Hurley obviously thinks it's going to happen. I might have said that at the start of this.
Right. Obviously, we're going to see more of Rose and Bernard. It's not just going to be that one scene.
They're cute, and I don't want... For them, I don't want any conflict. I just want to see them being great together.
I love Rose and Bernard. They're so good. That's all I can say about Rose and Bernard. Everybody loves them.
Yeah. Just like Harley.
Who else? Ana Lucia, I've already told you that we're going to see more of her.
Ana Lucia, I incomplete, but I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
All right, I really don't want to forget anybody, so can you just, like, get a list of all the characters just to make sure?
Sawyer, him.
Sawyer, I think I mentioned Sawyer, but, like, I think we could see more, but I think we've gotten enough. I'm not going to be if we don't get any more Sawyer plot lines, I'll be fine with it, because, you know, we got plenty.
Right. Okay, now, I just have one last thing. I want you to guess this, okay? So...
Wait, actually, one more thing about Sawyer first. I haven't seen exploration of Sawyer's thoughts on, you know, the man who conned his parents.
Oh, there you go.
Was
Now
Mr.
you're
Sawyer,
getting to it.
which I don't know if that will be a flashback thing or maybe just something we see his character struggle with while on the island. But that's the thing, I guess, that we need for Sawyer.
Yeah, well, I mean, clearly it's an important part of his life if Jacob's the one who gave him the pen to write it with. But now, so we know that their plane crashes over the South Pacific. That's been said. I want you to guess where that plane took off from and where it was supposed to land.
I thought. Whoa. I thought we knew something. Wasn't it going to LA? I thought they mentioned that during the time travel.
You're right, they did. So it was going to LA, but where do you think it was coming from?
You know, so much of the cast is American.
Right.
That I would have expected it to start in America, but if it was going to LA, then there's Hawaii, which is possible, but I'm gonna say Australia, because I think it really fits together. First of all, Claire is in Australia. Yeah. Second of all, Jack has a reason to visit Australia because he might want to meet Claire, because he knows. I don't know if he knows about Claire, but he knows his dad cheated. I think that could happen.
Right.
Thirdly, I think we know that Charlie's brother went to Australia, so Charlie has a reason to visit.
Right, for a rehab facility too.
Yeah, so I don't know it for everybody. Like, I don't know how Sawyer's gonna end up there. I don't know how Kate's gonna end up there. But
they don't. Okay, here's the thing. So I think the next time we see Kate, she will be in Australia, and they just don't explain how she got there. She just did.
Well, like, I mean, she needed a passport.
I guess she got a fake one.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying. I would expect her to. But yeah, okay. So it's not. But I think enough lines up there that I think it'll happen.
Right. I won't ask you how you think Hurley or Sun and Jin get to Australia, because they haven't revealed enough to explain why they would be going there.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, Hurley is gonna have the money to it, obviously.
Yeah. Well, he has the means, but what's the motive?
Yeah.
How do you think Saeed ends up there?
Oh boy, because I think I said earlier, like, how's Saeed gonna end up in America? But yeah, when you think it through, no, he has to end up in Australia, going to America.
Right, so because we've seen him in Iraq, and then we saw him in Paris.
We saw him in Paris, so maybe he's just traveling around to find himself, and maybe he just ends up there. Or maybe, what was the girl's name? Nadia?
Yes.
Maybe Nadia's there, and he's following her there. Or maybe, I don't know if he's, like, looking for her, or she tells him to come there, but I mean, I don't know why she'd be there. I know we saw her in America at one point, but maybe she ends up in Australia, and that's what I could see being the connection.
Right. Now...
Also, obviously Locke.
And...
will do the walkabout. In fact, yeah, that makes it even more clear. He'll do the walkabout, now that I think, like, they have to be in Australia.
Yeah, Locke's makes sense. Now, you're never going to guess this, but I want you to just try and guess why Ana Lucia would be in Australia.
The guy she killed.
Also, if anyone's like, "Oh, you're giving too much away,"
he's
because
hiding
it's
in Australia.
I'm saying this because
it's. I clearly. You asked me a question that I should have been asking. I'm saying this
because this is the only time I can ask you. It will be eventually revealed in these next few episodes.
Yeah, and like, okay, you're revealing it, but you asked me a question that I should have been asking myself anyway. And I think I gave an answer that made a lot of sense, or even if it isn't confirmed yet, I think I basically figured it out there.
Right, so why do you think Ana Lucia would be there?
Oh man, I couldn't say, honestly. It's
Right.
oh man.
I think, personally, of all the reasons for people to be in Australia, I mean, I think the most boring would be Claire, because she lives there. The most interesting is Anna Lucia's reason to be there, honestly.
Oh man. So honestly,
lastly, Echo.
well,
Why do you think
I wanna
Echo's
just-
there?
I don't know, because Echo was going to London. Yeah, okay, I have no idea on that either.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, it is funny that you would think if the plane was coming from Australia, there might be more Australians on the cast on the island, but it's an American show.
Exactly. Can only have one Australian. Also, there's a funny thing where people, when the show started, they complained about Claire's overblown Australian accent. But that's just the actress's actual accent.
She's Australian. Okay.
Yeah, she's not putting on... But people are like, oh, she can't even do an accent right. When it's her accent. Like,
Yeah.
people said the same
that-
thing, too, about
you know-
Sawyer's southern accent. But that's his actual accent.
That's the thing about accents. I'm not the best with, like, being able to tell with accents. I've seen things where accents sounded fake, and I didn't realize until I saw people commenting, oh, that accent was so bad. I have tried to say an accent was bad only for me to realize it was real, and I felt silly for it. But, like, the thing about accents is that when people say they sound fake, I'm just like, is the person saying this actually an expert? Do they actually know? Or are they just totally guessing based off of how over-the-top it sounds? Because some people just exist with over-the-top accents.
Right. I think the only people who actually are putting on accents are Jin's actor, because obviously he speaks fluent English, but he has to put on a Korean accent, and Saeed's actor, because he has a British accent,
he's
and
British.
he has to
Yeah,
try
he
and
told
speak
me
with
he's
an
British.
American one.
Yeah. Or at some points an Iraqi one.
Right, yeah. It's
Yeah.
hard
Either
to
way,
do an accent within an accent in that case.
Yeah. Well,
But
man,
anyways,
it
I have to
definitely.
say-
I expected to spend longer building up to things. It's like, I mean, still a few episodes, but we're gonna get to things happening. The
Right,
island.
and I have to say, I love these episodes. So I want to say, what was your opinion on them? And I love them because you got so many more characters to bounce around in these two episodes. And even if there was a lot of Jack, it was still Jack and Kate and Rose and Bernard and here's Desmond and stuff like that. But what was your opinion overall on the quality of these?
I mean, obviously, they had one of the show's lowest points.
Yes, it had that. It
So
had
we're
the
gonna
worst.
just-
But to
we're
me,
gonna
it's like
ignore
so
that.
bad. It's a meme at this point where I'm just like
Yeah.
laugh about it.
But I'd say they were good ones. I don't know if they stood out to me. I mean, it's hard for me to think about it because it always is plotline by plotline. But, I mean, the time travel stuff we got was good, but just, I don't know if that makes the episode better, though, just kind of connecting more of what we already got. And so, flashbacks, I would say Jack's stuff was good, but I didn't love it. It was just like, it was good Jack stuff. Jack's a good character, but I think I'm going to enjoy Jack more when he starts trying to be the leader on the island rather than, I mean, just the whole medical thing, it was never my thing that much.
That's fair. That's fair enough.
And Echo was good, but I'm not going to lie, I talked up so much of what I was looking forward to last episode on how I wanted to see crazy stuff with Echo, and then it was kind of just, yeah, he kills the guy and is leaving. He kills the guys and is leaving for London.
Yeah, it was just a very natural progression of what was happening to him.
Yeah. And Kate, her leaving Kevin was alright. Her doing the robbery just to get in the deposit box was great. Her just getting the plane, not my thing. But Desmond's stuff was good. Ana Lucia, I mean, I don't approve of her, but it was good. I don't know, I wouldn't...
Well, yeah, someone can be a bad person but be a great character.
I think I wouldn't say... I think for me, these were solid episodes, but not my favorites.
Also, when I say a bad person and a great character, my favorite character on the show is possibly the worst person. So...
Yeah, no, I know. You are not afraid to stand characters who are bad people.
Yeah.
I'm not either, but I think you're even less afraid.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you could tie it back to me watching the show and liking a certain person on here.
But yeah, I think for me these weren't standout, but they were solid. Hurley was the standout part, though. And of course, Bernard and Rose.
Yeah. Obviously, we're going to see more of Hurley with his lottery winnings. It's not just going to stop at his grandfather dying. Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to get more shenanigans with him. He's like, he's like a comic relief fun character. It's
one last thing. You know what this is essentially turning the island into me?
What?
You know, for most people watch show, it's like the whole premise where you start is they end up on this island. It's like, ooh, let's get some flashbacks to figure out who these people were. And it's like, you know, the hook is all these people end up on the island. For me, I've gotten all these flashbacks, and now them crashing on the island together, and basically all of the plot from there on is going to be like the biggest crossover episode ever. Exactly, and that actually gets me so excited. Because, like, who doesn't love crossover episodes for characters you like? I'm gonna see the characters start interacting with each other, and I'm gonna be like, oh, that is so them. That is so. Oh, it's like, it's such a, and it's gonna be like the rest of the show is gonna be my crossover episode.
Right. Yeah, we've had little snippets here and there, like Jack and Desmond meeting briefly, but we haven't had that full meeting. But yeah. Like we said, you know, when you watch it originally, it's these people crashed on an island and you learn who they were. And when you watch it chronologically, it's you learn who they are, and then a plane crash happens to them.
And you see what the plane crash, how the plane crash changes them, how they react to that.
Exactly. Because, okay, I have a larger point, but I'm going to make it next time after we've seen more. So,
all right.
I'm going to hold on to it. And since we have talked now for almost 2 hours in this recording. Yeah. I don't know how much has been cut down. I think we are going to end it here. I hope you join us next time, where we will be covering episodes 21 and 22 of Chronologically Lost, which are both entitled 2004. See ya.